I have 3 kids. My husband and I worked hard to raise them and get them to be productive adults. And they are. I'm proud of all 3. They were great kids and have become pretty good adults, if I do say so myself. When my oldest daughter married a widower who already had a 2-year-old child, my husband and I put money into an education fund. We did the same for every biological grandchild. We know a little bit about investing and compound interest. By starting early, we can invest a little bit each month, and by the time they graduate high school, we're able to provide each one with enough money for a good start in life. My oldest grandchild just graduated from high school. We were able to let them know that after scholarships and everything were taken into account, they would be graduating debt-free. We don't give any of them the money. We pay for tuition and fees and such. We learned our lesson from our youngest, our only son. We gave him the money like we had for his 2 older sisters. He had scholarships as well, but he blew through the money we gave him and chose to become a tradesperson instead. He does very well and now owns his own successful business. He was married, but it didn't work out. We have 2 grandkids from that marriage. Last year, he married a very nice woman who has a 15-year-old son. She had him very young, and it caused a rift in her family. None of them came to the wedding. My son approached us about money for his stepson's education. After my husband and I discussed it, we said that we could afford to give him $5,000 to help out, but that was it. My son is very disappointed. He knows that all my other grandkids have enough money in their accounts to pay for at least 2.5 years of in-state tuition and expenses. He makes good money, but he also likes to spend it on toys and vacations. I don't think that him or my daughter-in-law have anything put away for his stepson. That is why we offered the $5,000. My son and his wife are planning ahead for when he graduates in June, and they are still complaining that I'm treating him different from our other grandkids. I know that we are, but we didn't have almost 2 decades to save for him. That $5,000 came out of my fund for when I need to replace my car. Edit. My son and daughter-in-law are not spending their money on toys and vacations. I may have put that badly. The reason that my son doesn't have a lot of savings to pay for his son's education is because of how he chose to spend his money prior to getting married. I hope that is clear now. Not the a-hole. You didn't have a 15-year head start to save for this grandchild the way you did for others. He can be upset that this kid won't have the same head start, but he can't be mad at you for not being able to offer more. Now it's up to him to provide. My wife, 39 female, and I, 41 male, have been married for 7 years. We have 2 kids of our own, 6 and 4, and my wife has a daughter, Mary, from a previous relationship, 16 female. My wife and her ex have split custody, and this year was supposed to be her ex's year to have their daughter for Christmas. But Mary's been fighting a lot with her dad lately because she feels he's too strict. In my opinion, he's not, but that doesn't matter. He just has different rules for her when she's at his house, and Mary thinks that isn't fair. Since Mary was supposed to be with her dad for Christmas, we made plans to fly out of state to visit my family for the holidays. But last weekend, Mary was at her dad's, and they got into an argument. Mary came back to our house and told us that she doesn't want to spend Christmas with her dad anymore. My wife immediately jumped to say that Mary can just come with us instead. But it isn't that simple. My wife and her ex have a clause in their custody agreement that requires approval of both parents to take Mary over state lines. This clause was specifically requested by my wife at the time their agreement was made. We've asked for and gotten Mary's dad's approval for vacations before, and vice versa. I reminded my wife of this and said that she's going to need to talk to her ex before we can make any travel plans for Mary. She called her ex, and he said he still wants Mary to spend Christmas with him and that he wants to try and talk to her to smooth things over. Mary says she doesn't want to talk to him at all. My wife explained this to her ex, and he said he will not give permission to take Mary with us on our trip. He said he understands that Mary is mad at him, but he doesn't believe that it's fair that we take her with us for the holidays when it's supposed to be his time with Mary. His main point is that Mary spent the last 2 Christmases with us. Last year because of her custody agreement, and the previous year because of virus restrictions. Personally, I completely see his point. Mary is mad at him, but he still wants to work it out and spend the holidays with her. My wife thinks he is being vindictive and not looking out for Mary's best interest. My wife wants us to now change our plans and stay home instead of going to see my family. I told her I absolutely did not want to do that. We've had these plans for months, and I'm looking forward to seeing my family for the holidays too. It's been 3 years since we've spent Christmas with them. I suggested to my wife that all of us sit down and talk about this and work something out so that her ex and Mary can spend the holidays together. But she got mad at me for taking his side, instead of supporting her and Mary. Both my wife and Mary are now pissed at me for not wanting to change our Christmas plans to accommodate Mary. I'm not expecting everyone to be happy about this situation. I'm just trying to find a compromise that brings us back to our original plans. Edit. The reason Mary is mad at her dad is because she feels his rules regarding her curfew and car use are unfair. Mary has a driver's license, but no car of her own. When she's at her dad's, he only allows her to have one friend in the car with her at a time. He also has an 11 p.m. curfew for her on weekends. She stayed out until almost 1 a.m. the last time she was there, and they argued about it. Not the a-hole. It honestly sounds like your wife likes Mary being mad at her father because of the way she jumped on telling Mary she didn't need to abide by custody agreements, instead of being willing to sit down with her ex and Mary and work something out. She's also refusing to even discuss options with you, and instead is demanding you give up seeing your family to do things her way. I'd honestly tell her that you and your kids will be keeping your original plans, since she isn't open to discussion or compromise, and she can stay home or go with you, her choice. I'm 18 female, and this is my last Christmas at home. I'm a senior in high school and plan to go to college next year. My parents divorced when I was 11. I live with my mom and see my dad whenever I want to. My dad remarried a few years ago, and he and his new wife have a baby that's a few months old. My mom is not remarried. Since this is my last Christmas at home, I've asked my parents if we can do Christmas the way we did when I was a child, for nostalgia's sakes. I'd like for my dad to come spend Christmas Eve with me. He can stay the night on the couch or air mattress. Him and my mom wake me up in the morning by singing carols and bringing me breakfast in bed. Then we spend all morning opening gifts, taking pictures, drinking cocoa, laughing, and being a family. Then my dad makes brunch. My mom and I make cookies together. And after, we visit my aunt and cousins on my mom's side, where there's more gifts, pictures, cocoa, and laughing. Plus, we play silly games all afternoon. My dad cooks dinner for everyone. We watch Christmas movies, play charades, then chill out until bedtime, when my parents would tuck me in and stay beside me until I fell asleep. My mom said yes, we can do this, and she thinks it's a great idea to do since it's my last Christmas at home. When I asked my dad, he said he wasn't sure, because it's not fair to his wife and he doesn't want to miss the baby's first Christmas. My dad asked if he can invite his wife and baby. Me and my mom said no because they're not part of this. He asked if I'd be willing to split the day between mom and him, but I don't want to do that. Dad offered to come over to make breakfast and do the morning stuff and stay through brunch, but that's only part of the day. I kept trying to explain to my dad how important this last Christmas is for me to spend with him and mom, just us, doing it the way we did when I was little. My dad said he can't promise me the whole day and not spend any time with his wife, baby, and his side of the family. He kept asking me to split the day, and I kept saying no, that this is the only way I want Christmas to go this year. Now my dad and I aren't speaking, and last I heard from him was a text saying he's mailing me my gifts and contact him when I can be reasonable, because my request is selfish and unrealistic. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. Sweetie, unfortunately, you can't go back in time. Your dad did everything to work with you. What you asked for was not only inappropriate, but also very selfish. He has not one baby. He has two. He tried to work with you and also tried to be there for his wife and new baby. His wife was even willing to work with you, which not many would. Be thankful you are surrounded by people who love you and don't ruin this Christmas by living in the past. He can stay the night on the couch or air mattress. This is where OP 100% lost me. OP is 18, not a child. She should be able to recognize how exceptionally inappropriate this is. OP is demanding that her dad ditch his wife and infant to sleep at his ex-wife's house so she can pretend to be a little kid again. I kept saying no. This is the only way I want Christmas to go this year. Nah, OP, you may be young, but not that young. This is delusional and selfish behavior. Good on the dad for having a backbone. He gave very reasonable compromises, and OP wasn't being reasonable or living in reality. The mom also refusing to let the new wife and half-sister be part of the event was really cruel. The whole thing talks about the mom's side of the family, but then absolutely ignores and dismisses the dad. Doubtful his wife is going to appreciate or allow him to spend Christmas Eve at his ex's house when she's literally giving a finger to his new family. Seems to be some jealousy and petty drama games getting played out. Dad seems like he honestly was trying to give a reasonable compromise. My 22 female sister, 36 female, has been inviting me to visit her ever since she got married and settled. I finally have some stability with my job now and took my 3-week vacation. When I just got there, I was really tired and just wanted to sleep. But my sister said she needed to get some groceries, and since her husband is a Muslim and wouldn't want to stay home alone with a strange woman, I had to go with her. I was like, okay, your house, your rules. And I've been going out with her whenever she went out the past 2 weeks. The conflict is that I was taking a nap, like a really needed nap, and my sister woke me up saying that she needed to pick up nephew from daycare. I was confused and told her that would literally take her 5 minutes because it's right next door, and she insisted that I needed to go with her. I was cranky from being woken up and yelled at her what her deal was and that there's no way this is just about her husband being a Muslim or whatever. I told her she either didn't trust her husband or didn't trust me to an unhealthy degree, and she shouldn't have invited me over in either case. She said to keep my voice down and whether I wanted her husband to hear us on purpose, and I told her, don't worry, your husband won't get to hear or see me because I'm going ducking home. She started to apologize at that point and said she was stuck between a rock and a hard place, but I was really upset and packed up and got on the train. Now that I've calmed down a little, I feel like I might have overreacted, and she was honest since day one about no staying home alone with her husband, no matter why she set that rule. Ugh, this sucks. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You're the guest in their house. Why can't the husband leave and avoid this issue? If they knew this would be a hindrance, why invite you to stay in their home instead of at a hotel where it wouldn't be a problem? I don't blame you for leaving, and they should be ashamed of themselves for being completely inhospitable to you. I see 3 possible scenarios, especially since she doesn't want her husband to hear. Sister is jealous, insecure, paranoid, and using her husband's faith as an excuse. These insecurities can be imagined or based on actual comments or behaviors from her husband, like saying her sister is hot. Sister is one of those white ladies who marry someone from a different culture and goes all out extra with enforcing rules no one actually has. These women usually start every sentence with, my Muslim husband, or my Arab kid, and make it their whole identity. Husband is aggressive in some way, and she's walking on eggshells. Not the a-hole. This situation probably should have been communicated before you came to stay with them. It's a very weird setup, and I agree that you should probably talk with your sister about this to figure out what's going on here. Potentially, this is aggression, or at least really unhealthy that she's expected to bend over backwards about this rule. If you are exhausted and trying to catch up on sleep and the kid really is just 5 minutes away, couldn't her husband be the one to pick up the kid? Or step out for 5 minutes? For starters, my husband has parent issues. He was abandoned by his biological parents and put into foster care as a toddler. He never had a stable home as he was bounced around between different families until he turned 14, then spent 4 years in a group home. When we met, my family took to him very fast. He and my mother, 54 female, specifically developed a close relationship. For Mother's Day last year, he gave my mom a card and wrote a message thanking her for treating him like a son. He said she was the mom he had always dreamt about having. It was sweet. I never minded him treating her as if she was his mother. However, my mom is very extra. She wants to be involved in our lives a bit too much, which my husband only supports. She loves coming over to cook for us or inviting us over to her house for dinner. When our child was born, her wanting to be around intensely increased. I appreciated her help, but her being at our house almost 24/7 really got on my nerves, as I felt she was invading our privacy. I established boundaries with her, and basically told her she can only come over when I invite her. I didn't invite her over for a few weeks, which upset her. I also declined the numerous invites to her house. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, she was involved in a serious automobile accident which shattered her leg. She needed constant care while she recovered, which none of my sisters could provide due to their jobs. After our daughter was born, I became a stay-at-home mom and was expected to care for my mother. I declined and received much scrutiny from both my family and husband. She had no other choice but to be transferred to a rehabilitative facility. Everything was fine until reports circulated about the facility 2 weeks ago, which resulted in 2 caregivers and the director being arrested. My husband completely freaked out and said we needed to get her out of there. However, the incident that occurred didn't involve my mother's side. It was the memory care unit. My mom had been treated just fine. My husband got my sisters involved, which of course supported him. I was very adamant that she cannot come to our house. The next thing I know, our guest bedroom and bath had been cleaned up. I again told my husband, I am not going to allow this. Lo and behold, he arrives home with my mother. I was absolutely pissed. He said it would be fine as my sisters made a schedule to come over and care for her between their work schedules. So, great. Now I have my sisters invading my privacy too. I told my husband he married me, not me and my mom. I told him to stop bending over backwards for her and trying to please her. I expressed how I felt, that he is trying to compete with me, and my mom right now is gloating in that. All he could say is, this is your mother, and you have obviously showed her you do not care. My sisters are livid with me, and have said I'm a crappy daughter, and could learn from my husband how to treat a parent. I feel like my boundaries have been completely violated. Not the a-hole. He is absolutely the a-hole for bringing your mother into your house without your permission. Your sisters are also a-holes for judging your daughterhood, while they can hide behind their jobs and other excuses why mom isn't at their house. But your telling him apparently isn't going to do you a whole lot of good. All I can suggest is that you focus on caring for your child, and absolutely do no more than 25% of the care for your mother, with sisters and hubby doing the rest. And also, you should find time to get out of the house a few times a week, with or without your child, to preserve your sanity. Grocery shopping doesn't count. I'm talking about a play date or coffee with a friend, a movie, a museum.